welcome to or welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know, I am chronically ill, so today I just didn't really feel up to creating like a long script and figuring out ideas and stuff for a video, but I did still want to post something, so I asked on Instagram if anyone had any questions that they wanted to submit for a Q&A, and a bunch of people sent in ones that I get asked a good amount, so I'm gonna do sort of like a frequently asked questions slash just like answering your questions video today. This is all gonna be unscripted, so I'm sorry again, like if I'm rambling or things don't make a whole lot of sense. I'm always happy to clarify anything you want in the comments. Also, I'm wearing my like very fall post Halloween but still like fall themed pajamas today. But yeah, anyways, let's get into the video. The first question is, what made you want to start doing YouTube? Basically, I always knew that I wanted to make longer form age regression content, but I don't really like that on YouTube you can't block people, because I get some pretty like outrageous comments and like hate and stuff, and I just am the type to like block it and just get rid of it, and that's not a feature here on YouTube. I will say that like 99% of my long form content, like interviews with my caregiver, daily vlogs, photo diaries, like more personal, vulnerable talking videos, POV playdate with me videos, stuff like that, like is all on my Patreon, because that is just where I feel more comfortable and less like I'm under a microscope and I sort of like know who my audience is and who's watching on there. But I also did want to make a YouTube channel for sort of more like advice stuff and like talking stuff, because I feel like it would be nice if that was like fully accessible, because I know that a lot of people aren't really super open about their regression, or they just post about like the toys and cute side but not like anything else, which is fine. I just wanted to like share a bit more, so that is why I created a channel after saying that I wouldn't ever have one for like a really long time. Next question is if I have any tips on balancing budget with age regression stuff. My journey with this has been really specific, because I have been regressing since I was 15, and I've always known and like dreamed of having a bedroom specifically for my inner child healing, apart from my like regular bedroom and the rest of my house. So I've been like collecting things and saving up and like really making an effort to like have this be a reality for me literally since I was 15. I'm 22 now, so like 7 years, but obviously for most people like that's unrealistic and like not the case. So I would say always the secondhand market. People are always like selling stuff that their kids grew out of, or stuff that they're trying to get rid of from when they were a kid. So like Facebook Marketplace, thrift stores, online like Etsy and Depop and everything like that. Also a lot of like drugstores like CVS and Walgreens have like cute, even grocery stores like have cute baby items, like Walmart, Target, for not super expensive, so I would also say look there. One thing I will say about shopping in thrift stores though is if you live somewhere that has like a more low economic background and your thrift stores are kind of like sparse, I would honestly refrain from buying stuff from there, because there probably are like kids in need that are gonna want those things. Of course, if you live in like a huge metropolitan area or just somewhere like where there's just like a huge abundance of stuff, like then just go for it. But I would just be like kind of conscious about that, I guess. Also, budgeting wise, the way I personally budget is like I make a list of all of my like concrete every month expenses, like mortgage or rent, like utilities, Wi-Fi, like whatever, and then calculate and then add in additional like approximations for like food, gas, things that might vary month by month, and then sort of calculate what your monthly cost of living is. And then sort of if you have like money left over, like decide what portion of that you feel comfortable putting into like regression items, or if you would rather put it in savings or like an IRA or like whatever, I don't know. I'm not that adult enough to, you know, give you like real advice about that, but I would say just like look at your earnings and then sort of calculate how much you feel comfortable sort of spending, and also like how important is it to you that you get like a new stuffed animal versus like going out for coffee 2 days in a row or something. Like there might be places where you can sort of move things around to make accommodations for yourself. Also, a lot of things honestly you can make with kind of like basic household supplies, and at least for me, like crafting is super fun. I don't know if I can show you, but up there I made a menu for my like ice cream stand shop thing. So yeah, crafting is really fun. Just Google stuff, Google crafts. A lot of like places will have coloring pages that you can just print out. You don't need to like go and buy a new coloring book. Just see what the resources are around you and just sort of like get silly and get crafty. The next thing someone asked is how to regress alone by yourself without a caregiver. One thing that I find extremely helpful, which is, it's kind of like a hard thing maybe to like get into, but once you get comfortable doing it, it, for me at least, like makes regressing come so much more naturally, which is talking to yourself. Talk to yourself like the whole time. Have your stuffed animals talk to you, talk back to them, like talk to like little you or talk as little you. Like make all your stuffed animals have personalities just so you sort of like feel more surrounded by like entities, I guess. Also putting like a show or like music on in the background, like a kids show or like lullaby music or like the Disney soundtracks or something, that can really help. But also just sort of like be patient with yourself and know that it might not come super naturally at all, but that is still okay. Like it might take time, it might be like a level of comfortability that you need to sort of ease yourself into, and that's okay. The next question is, what are my favorite activities to do while I'm regressed? If I feel up to it, I am big on playtime. I love to play. I love, especially, my obsession has been play food. So I have like a farm stand, which you can see right here. I have a sandwich shop from Melissa and Doug, and I have like an ice cream stand. So I really like running those, or you can play school with your various stuffed animals. I love doing holiday themed stuff. Like as a kid, my brother and I would always have stuffed animal Thanksgiving where we would make them all gather and then serve them play food, and then like some big family drama would happen. Also, I really recommend, like, you don't need to play like all like cutesy hee hee. It's so fun to get chaotic with it, and like maybe one of them's like drank too much, like maybe not alcohol, but like maybe one of them like has a sugar high or something, or maybe there's like a scandal, like I don't know, but I feel like that makes it a lot more fun and engaging. Of course, that doesn't need to be for everybody, but yeah, playing. I really like coloring. I really like just like cuddling up and watching a movie. I really love like dressing my stuffed animals and like the few dolls I have, and like taking care of them, like brushing their hair or like pretending to give them a bath. I have like a play bathtub. It sort of is like, maybe this sounds crazy, but it's like me projecting onto them the way that like I wish I was cared for and like I want to be cared for, and it just feels so nice to like do that. I really like, I mean, this isn't something I can do alone, or it kind of is, like reading kids books, or especially for me, being read to, doing I Spy books or activity books, just sort of like messing around. I don't know, it's like hard to put into words the things I do. I sort of literally just like meander all over this room and like build with blocks and knock it down and then move on to the next thing like 3 seconds later. Also building with blocks, and really anything like crafty. I also really love, for me in particular, one of the questions is like, where is your favorite place to regress besides this room? Outside. I love being outside. I'm such an like outdoors baby. I love playing hide and seek with my stuffed animals, blowing bubbles outside, having little picnics, having tea parties. Tea parties is a good one. I love building fairy houses or like having scavenger hunts. There's so much stuff, and there's a lot of really good resources online. Like just look up like stuff like fun activities for kids, like fun rainy day activities or like holiday activities or just whatever. There's literally so much out there. I could make a whole video on it. Pretty much all of these questions, I feel like this video is going to be really long because all of these things I feel like I could make a whole video on. I do want to make a whole video on like how to play, how to get out of your head and like really like play. So I definitely think I'm going to do that in the future when I have time to like write it out. But whatever. Someone asked, and I sort of already answered this in a previous question, but someone asked how long I've been regressing. I have been like cognizant of the fact that I was regressing and like actively doing it intentionally since I was 15. To raise the camera, I feel like haven't seen the top of my head in a while. I've been actively regressing since I was 15, but I was regressing symptomatically since then. For reference, I've talked about this in previous videos, but there are 4 types of regression as I understand regression, which are voluntary, involuntary, symptomatic, and therapeutic. And regression as a symptom was something for me that comes from my PTSD. So I was already having symptomatic age regression before I knew about like the therapeutic aspect and like how I could harness that. But I learned about that and like talked to my therapist about it and started integrating that into my therapy and life when I was 15. But it's also taken like multiple forms throughout my life. It used to be sort of a thing in the background, and now it's like at the forefront. It is like my favorite thing and how I want to spend most of my time. For those of you who don't know, I sort of already touched on this, but I am chronically ill, and I also do have severe PTSD, and it doesn't just help with the PTSD but also the chronic illness stuff. That is another thing I think I'll save for its own video, but yeah. The next question, this is sort of like a switching of gears, but the next question that I get asked so much is, why do I call my caregiver Mr. Mommy? For those who don't know, a caregiver is someone who basically is involved in your regression in that they sort of take on like sort of like a parental role or like a babysitter role or even just like a playmate role. It looks different for everybody. My caregiver is also my caregiver in like the medical sense, like term. He takes care of me like because I'm disabled, so it's like a very multifaceted thing, and I think my dynamic looks a lot different than other people's. But the reason I call him Mr. Mommy, it's a few things. Number one, like I was kind of already saying, our dynamic is extremely nurturing and it feels very maternal. It's very like playful, loving. It just feels very maternal. I don't really know the words for it because like I can't, like, you're not experiencing it like I am. It's like hard to like really label, but it feels just very maternal. That's like the best I can do to describe it. And also a lot of like the male traditional caregiver names have really been like tainted for me. I'm not gonna go into why, but I just don't like them, and he doesn't like them either, and he feels the same way about them that I do. Of course, like everyone has different associations for different things. Like would never shame anyone for any label that they want to use, but one day I just came up with Mr. Mommy and I said it and it just completely stuck, and then that like has transformed into other nicknames too, like Just Mommy, Ami, Oms, like a whole variation of things. But yeah, he's my mommy, like what can I say? He's my Mr. Mommy, and I love him very much. I couldn't do it without him, frankly. So yeah. Also, if you want to know more about like my dynamic and stuff with him, I did do an interview. I interviewed him, or you guys asked the questions and then we answered them on Patreon if you want to check that out. Someone asked what my favorite toy brands are. There are so many. I also have like favorite stuffed animal brands, which isn't the question, but I'm gonna answer anyway. Jellycat, Baby Gund, Aurora, Mary Meyer, Toys of Manhattan, or Manhattan Toy Company, I think it's called. Build-A-Bear, Douglas. Douglas is so underrated and so good. Ebba, or Eba, Disney Baby. And then for toys, Calico Critter, Melissa and Doug. I like a lot of like the Hallmark brand toys. I can think of off the top of my head right now, but I think I have a more comprehensive list in my Q&A highlight on Instagram. To jump all over the place, I should have answered this like with the other stuff about my caregiver, but someone asked, how did you tell your partner about your age regression? Basically, me and my partner, and I say partner, we don't use like boyfriend and girlfriend because our dynamic and our relationship is extremely unique and like not what you would typically think of when you think boyfriend and girlfriend. But we have been together in like what that means for us for over 4 years now. And I told him like 2 weeks, I would say, into knowing him. I just like sat him down and told him pretty much. I have a whole video, it's the first video on my channel, of how to tell someone, so definitely go check that out if you're looking to tell somebody. But I just like trusted him and loved him with every fiber of my being, and it was fine. Yeah. He's also really easy to like tell things to. He's like the most accepting person, so I literally just sat him down and was like, this might be a little weird, but and he already knew about my trauma already knew I was a very childish person, because I just am. Like, and our dynamic has always been like so playful, and like everyone always is like, you're like children the way you act. So like we're always being like rambunctious and frankly annoying. So it was like a really easy thing for us to settle into eventually. Final question that I'm gonna answer today, because this has gone on for far too long, is what's the process like to develop a stronger age regression / like little identity, and how did you do it? For me, this is where like therapy came in full force. Like obviously that looks different for everybody, but like really getting into like the nitty-gritty with my therapist and sort of like thinking about ways to get back in touch with my like inner child. And a lot of my stuff, it's just so like only applicable to me, so I'm trying to like leave that out and sort of say what could apply to like more people. But I really think like journaling about it is really helpful. I can like put up some prompts. I have a lot of age regression journal prompts and like pictures of my journal on Patreon if you want just like general stuff. But I think sort of like really being like, what do I miss the most about being a kid? What do I feel like would be the most helpful to relive? Like, what did I miss out on that I want now? Like, what negative things was I feeling that were unfair to be feeling that I can sort of like help myself work through now? A lot of the nature of my abuse I don't talk about very much, but like it was the 3 categories. And a lot of it for me had to do with feeling like dirty and impure and like disgusting pretty much. And I won't get into too much of any of that, but sort of, so like a main focus for me with my regression has been like creating innocence for myself. And yeah, like just like pure, I don't know. But really like having that be a focus on being able to be vocal and like play, because that was something I wasn't really allowed to do. Like I wasn't allowed to like make noise, for example, and stuff. So really letting myself like screech if I feel and stuff. Just like undoing a lot of like the gaslighting and horribleness that I underwent, and just giving myself a space to feel safe and happy and like a kid in like a good and safe way and not a horrifying way. So I really think really trying to like look inwards and journaling about it. I also really love making Pinterest boards that sort of like, I don't know, I really like just like imagery and like things I can like really like look at or touch or feel. So journaling would be like the touching and the feeling, or if you have like pictures of yourself from when you were a kid, like sort of like holding that and trying to like, you know, like reconnect. Pinterest wise, I have a board just for like nostalgia. Like a lot of my regression has a lot to do with nostalgia. So yeah, like looking at those images is helpful, and also just like curating that, figuring out what stuff really speaks to you, like in terms of like toys and stuff, but also just in general. Yeah, just like get to know your like child baby side, I guess. For me, for example, my like bedroom theme was like pink and green, and I grew up in the forest, so a lot of like woodland stuff has a lot of meaning to me. Pastel, just like cute stuff. Calico critters I've been collecting literally since I was 3 years old, so it was easy for me to hone in on that stuff. But if you've been like really separate and pushed it away for a long time, it can be sort of hard and take a while. I would say be really open to trying new things and just like be patient with yourself and see what you'll end up having to offer yourself, because it'll probably be a lot more than you think. And so yeah, I hope that made sense. I feel like a lot of that didn't, and this is what I get for like not having myself a little script, but I hope you enjoyed the video regardless. And if you want clarification on anything, please let me know. I hope that was interesting and you got something out of it. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.